Today I'll be speaking to you. My wife asked me to speak to you on inspired service. But first, a joke. Minister is at a yard sale and buys a lawnmower, takes it home, and he's puts gas in it, and it looks like the whole thing's ready, and he's pulling the rope and pulling the rope and pulling the rope, and the thing just won't start. So he takes it back to the yard sale, and the guy at the yard tells the guy at the yard sale, this lawnmower just won't work. And the guy goes, well, you got to curse at it while you're pulling the rope. And the minister goes, curse at it? I'm a minister. I don't even remember how to curse. And the guy says, well, if you keep pulling that rope, you'll remember. Inspired service. So when Ash asked me to talk about this, I started thinking about the times that I was in inspired service. And then the times I was doing service that was not inspired and feeling the difference. And recognizing that there really is a difference. Like all the times my dad said to me, hey, I want you to come with me and help me get this done. And how uninspiring it was for me as a teenager to go help him. And, there's a begrudgingness that happens, I think, when we do service that is not inspired. There's a part of us that holds back. And even if that there's no begrudging, I don't know that it has the same forward motion. That's a real key that I discovered when I looked at the difference for myself. Is the times I have gone into inspired service, it has had a forward motion to it that was beyond my pushing or trying to create or whatever it was that needed to happen. It has its own momentum to it. Now, does that mean that there's no work involved or it's not hard? No. So the first time I remember being called to inspired service was I was already volunteering at the Center for Spiritual Living in Asheville. I was running sound. And I was doing it because they needed somebody to do it, and I was good at running sound, and so I was doing it. And I wasn't like I was begrudging it. I don't sit well, so I was happy. I'd rather do that than be one of the folks just sitting in the congregation, simply because I never was good at sitting well. And so it was easier for me to volunteer. This was not inspired service, but it was service. It helped them because I was a guy who knew sound. When we moved into our new sanctuary, I designed the entire sound system and helped put up the speakers and where the sound booth went and all that stuff. In fact, that turned into an actual job where I got hired to then go to other centers and Unity churches and help them design their sound systems and fix their sound systems and make sure theirs worked properly. And then I was invited to Unity Village and did an entire workshop on how to do sound systems and even how to train volunteers. But to be honest, none of that was inspired. It was in front of me to do. But it wasn't actually inspired. And so there was a way in which I was just going along and doing it, but there was no feeling of momentum, even though it had, it was doing what it was doing. And I said yes, because I'm a guy who says yes to service. Always have been. From the day my dad said, come help me with this, I've been the guy who always said, okay, and just went and did it. Or my mom said this, or a friend needed this. Everybody knew I was the guy to call if somebody needed some help with something, because mostly I said yes. And so when it came to being at the church, I said yes. Well, then the day came where the music director quit. and they didn't have a music director. And the thing about this is I'd been a musician for 20 years before I ever got involved with the church, and had promised myself I was never going to play professionally again. I had been so hurt and downtrodden by the music industry that I never wanted to play professionally again. I didn't mind sitting at home diddling on my guitar or whatever, but I did not want to play. Except I woke up with this voice inside me that said, it is absolutely yours to do to be their music director. I didn't want to. I'll tell you the truth. I didn't want to. I actually was like, no. The guy who always said yes, this time was like, no, I don't want to deal with those old wounds and all that old stuff. No, I'm not doing that. But I knew it was inspired by the welling up inside me of, no, really, this is yours. And this will support you in thriving. And that's the other thing about inspired service. In your service to others, you thrive. In a way that uninspired service you're just going along and helping others, and it gets tiring, and it's this and it's that, but that's not the same energy and behind it. There's not this, the sense of godness, the sense of spirit, the sense of wonder that goes along with it. So finally, I said, okay, and I went and spoke to John and Barbara Waterhouse, doctors John and Barbara Waterhouse, who are still are the senior ministers of the Center for Spiritual Living in Asheville. And I said, I'll do it. I'll be your music director. I'll put together a band. And Barbara, her first question to me was, how do you know you can put together a band? And I said, because I've always put together bands. I just am able to do that. It's just something I can do. And sure enough, they said, okay. And we tried it. They said, let's try it for 3 months and see how it goes. Well, I had a full working band within a month, and we were rocking that house so much that the place went from about 100 on a Sunday to over 200 on a Sunday within just a couple of months. And everybody wanted to be part of the band. People were coming up and everybody was going nuts about the band. And I have played, because of my musical career, with some of the best players in the business. Some of Billy Joel's players played in my band when I was playing professionally in the music business. And the band I put together in this church was better. These players were amazing. And they came out of the woodwork. It was an incredible experience. And we were playing music at a level that I, in my life, had never experienced, with all the albums I put out and all the gigs I'd played and all the different bands I had never seen my music rise to the level it did after I agreed to be their music director. It was clearly inspired service. The difference was extraordinary, and how it felt and how it was received and what it did to others. Inspired service inspires others. That's another key to inspired service. If you are being of service and you are not inspired yourself in what it is you are doing, it may be helpful. I was very helpful doing the sound. But when I was the music director, people were inspired. Barbara and John were inspired. They would come to me sometimes after a service and just go, whoa, that raised the level of everything. That's what happens when you move into inspired service. Those around you are inspired, and everything lifts to a whole nother level. The difference is pretty extraordinary. The next time I was inspired was when I was living in the woods, in my cabin in the woods, which I've talked to you folks a lot about. And I got a call from Cincinnati saying, hey, we really need help up here in terms of an interim music director and minister. Linda, the minister there at the time, knew I was just about to graduate ministerial school or was close to it, had about a year to go. And she thought, you'd be the perfect guy for us if you'd come up here and be our interim to help us through until we get our new music director and the new minister takes over the place. And so I went up there and I supported them in that. And you could feel, once again, the inspiration that not only inspired Linda to ask me to say yes, but the level of what happened to the place in terms of the energy that rose from it. It was incredible. And made the transition to the new music director who finally showed up and the new minister who was coming in. They walked into a place, both of them, that was, it was palpable. You could feel it. You could feel the inspiration in the air, particularly the new music director. She was like, I am so inspired to be here and work here and do this. Thank you for creating that kind of place for me to walk into. That's what's possible when it's inspired service as opposed to service, which is not a bad thing. If you're not inspired to service, doing service is still a good idea. So let's just be clear about that. But each of us has the ability within us to find what it is that inspires us to the next thing that is ours to do. Sometimes what comes up as ours to do is simply because it's handy. That's what me being doing the sound was. It was handy. It was something they needed, and I was there. It was handy. And doing handy, being around to do something that's handy is very helpful to people. So I am not saying that's a bad idea, but I will say that no one was lifted or inspired by the fact I did that. They were all very happy I was doing it, but the difference is really extraordinary from when I was music director and the place, everybody's on their feet and going nuts over what's going on stage. What a difference. Same thing happened in Cincinnati. People on their feet going nuts. That's what's possible when it's inspired. The next time was running a suicide crisis hotline. Now, this was an interesting one because I knew absolutely nothing about it. I knew nothing about how to run a suicide crisis hotline. But there I am in my apartment, pacing back and forth like crazy, going, oh my God, is this really mine to do? I don't know anything about this, but they don't have one in Asheville. A town like this should have a suicide crisis hotline and nobody else is doing it. So should I be doing it? And I could feel the energy in myself and I could feel the argument. And that's another thing to look for. The thing that scares us most, the thing that we want to argue with ourselves the most about is probably the most inspiring thing we could be doing. It has been for me. Nothing rises me up like when the juices start going, oh my God, within me. Is this really mine? Boom, 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 boom. And I'm bouncing back and forth. So I got on the internet and got a hold of an organization that actually helped create suicide crisis hotlines throughout the country. And before I knew it, I was being flown to where was it? Oklahoma and then Texas, and getting trained by all these people who were like, we can train you on how to run a suicide crisis hotline. And then before I know it, I'm holding my first training in Asheville. And before I know it, I got 60 volunteers ready to take calls, ready to move forward. And the very first call I get is a woman that says, you have 10 seconds to tell me why I shouldn't cut my throat. It was quite an introduction to suicide crisis hotlines. But I'd been trained really well, so I knew exactly what to say and talked her down. In fact, over 3 years, we took over 10,000 calls and never lost a single person. Inspired action, inspired service. It leads to miraculous results. Uninspired service leads to good results. Inspired service leads to miraculous results. It really has a different flair to it. Becoming your senior minister. What an inspiration for me that was, to come in to a situation that was, I'd been trained, but it's not like I ever did it before. It's not like I'd ever been senior minister of a center before. I'd been senior minister of an online center, but that's not the same as having a building and people showing up who are counting on you and caring on you, and you're caring on them, and you're being together. And then we see people, I got to witness you rise, become more. And it would bring tears to my eyes to see how you guys were transforming in your life. I mean, that includes Trish and my wife and Matt and now Sid and Alan and all you guys. Watching you, and gals, watching you transform your lives has been inspiring to me. When you get to watch somebody else grow, you grow, I grow. It impacts us both ways. That's the best part about inspirational service, is the impact goes both ways. I love being with all of you. I love what it is to be interacting with each of you, to hear not your troubles and to hear your successes, to hear how you've grown, to hear how you see life differently from when I first showed up. Nothing makes me feel more like I've done my job and, been present is when I get a phone call saying, hey, I had this thing happen to me and I responded to it completely differently than I would have a year ago or 6 months ago or the last time it happened. Inspired action lifts us all. Inspired service lifts us all. So I want you guys to have this experience for yourselves. So I actually came up with a meditation, guided meditation, so you can feel for yourself and discover for yourself, what is your next step? Y'all up for that? Let's do this thing. So, sit back, relax, take a deep breath, close your eyes, take another deep breath, and relax. And imagine yourself on a path. It can be any path. It could be in the woods. It could be down the street. It could be up in the clouds. What matters is that this path is the perfect path for you. How it feels under your feet. How the air feels against your skin. The sounds, the sights. They're absolutely perfect. They're exactly what you love to see, feel, and experience. And now imagine you come to an opening, a clearing. This is your sanctuary, and it is perfect and beautiful. It feels perfect for you. Whatever the sights, sounds, smells, feeling against your skin, it is perfect. Whatever relaxes you, has you feel safe. And in the center of this sanctuary is a chair. It is the perfect chair. You walk over to it and you sit down, and in that sitting you feel the ah of just how comfortable and wonderful it is to be in your sanctuary. Take another deep breath and relax even more. And now, imagine yourself so excited to move forward in your day. Imagine you just woke up in the morning, and whatever it is you're doing that day excites you, brings forth your passion, inspires you. Doesn't matter what it is you're going to do. What I want you to bring forth is your passion, your imagination, that whatever it is you're going to do that day just excites you to no end. You can't wait to do it. And imagine that what you are going to be doing is of service, not just to some people, but that the inspiration itself that you are feeling, you know, will have impact on others as well as you. Let this quality build in you, this sense of passion, this sense of inspiration, where you are so looking forward to going and being of service. And now, from this deep place of knowing, ask yourself what it is that excites you so much. Ask your higher self, what is it? What is this way of being of service that has me so inspired, so excited? And whatever pops in your mind, don't judge it as, oh, I couldn't do that. Don't judge it in any way whatsoever, because we are in an infinite place of possibility right now. Anything is possible. So whatever pops up for you in this place of excitement, this place of, I can't wait to do that, just say yes. And now thank your higher self for allowing you this privilege of inspired service, because truly it is a privilege to serve in this way. Thank your higher self for opening your eyes, your heart, your beingness to this inspired way of being in the world that is of service to others and yourself. Imagine what it would be like to do this thing that has just come to you as you can't wait to do. Whatever it is. Even if you think it's not possible, open to the fact that it might be. And imagine yourself doing it. Bring forth your own inspiration into it. Breathe life into this expression of inspired service. And in this place of gratitude and fullness and loving life for the service and inspiration you are bringing forth, once again, thank your higher self. And when you are ready, open your eyes. For any of you that something came to you in that, I would definitely write it down right now. Take a moment and write it down. Cement it for yourself, knowing your own possibility. For those of you who nothing came for right now, there's be a recording of this and lead yourself through it again. Don't give up on yourself. Inspired service is yours. Do this exercise until what your next step is comes to you. This recording will go out on Wednesday in the newsletter. It'll be there for you to listen and do over as often as you need to until your step of inspired service is there for you to take. I love you. Thank you.
God is the source of all supply. Money is God in action. What I give, I receive multiplied abundantly. All that God is, I am, and so it is.